Have you ever pondered how fear can drive societies to unimaginable extremes? Such was the case between the 15th and 18th centuries across Europe and North America, where fear and superstition led to one of the darkest chapters in human history, the witch trials. This period saw thousands accused, tortured, and executed based on unfounded accusations of witchcraft, a crime steeped in fear and a lack of understanding. In this video, we'll delve into the heart of these trials, exploring the societal, religious, and individual factors that made them possible. We'll uncover the process of these trials, from accusation to execution, and the profound impact they had on the communities involved. We'll also examine the legacy they left behind, still visible in our culture and legal systems today. Join us as we uncover how fear, superstition, and the human psyche converged to create a dark chapter in human history. Imagine living in a world where religion, folklore, and a lack of scientific understanding shape your reality. This was the medieval mindset, a world teetering on the edge of fear and suspicion, where the mysterious and the unexplainable were often attributed to the supernatural. In this world, a unique figure was born, the witch. A product of fear, superstition, and ignorance, witches were typically portrayed as elderly women with a hunched back, a broomstick for transport, and a black cat for company. This image was a concoction of religious teachings, folklore, and popular imagination. The church in particular played a significant role in perpetuating this stereotype, associating these supposed witches with the devil and painting them as threats to the moral fabric of society. But how did ordinary people turn into these feared and loathed witches? How did the peaceful baker's wife or the solitary spinster become the object of such terror and dread? The answer lies in a book, the Malleus Maleficarum, or the Hammer of Witches. Published in the late 15th century by two German monks, this manual for witch hunters became a bestseller of its time and played a pivotal role in fueling the witch hysteria. The Malleus Maleficarum provided a detailed guide for identifying, interrogating, and punishing supposed witches. It offered a wealth of information on witchcraft, including the signs of a witch, the pact with the devil, and the supposed powers these witches held. Most dangerously, it legitimized the use of torture to extract confessions, leading to countless innocent lives being accused and convicted on the basis of forced testimonies. In essence, the Malleus Maleficarum acted as a catalyst, turning the simmering pot of superstition into a boiling cauldron of fear and paranoia. It transformed the nebulous fears of the medieval mind into a tangible, identifiable enemy, the witch. The stage was set for fear and suspicion to take root, leading to a horrifying period of witch hunts. The seeds of superstition had been sown and the stage was set for a dark chapter in human history, as societies succumbed to the power of fear and superstition. As if the seeds of superstition weren't enough, societal anxieties were about to add fuel to the fire. Imagine a world where everyday life was a struggle. Famine, wars, and sickness like the Black Plague were regular occurrences in the 15th to 18th centuries. In such times, fear was rife and hope was scant. Now, when you're already on edge, it's easier to believe in something, or someone to blame. This is where witches came in, a perfect scapegoat for societies grappling with hardships. People were looking for answers, for a reason why their crops were failing, why their children were falling sick, why their lives were filled with despair. And what better answer than a malicious, supernatural entity living among them? This fear and desperation gave birth to some of the most infamous witch trials in history. The scale of these trials was immense. Historians estimate that tens of thousands were convicted for witchcraft during this period. In the small village of Pendle, England, 12 people were accused of witchcraft in 1612. They were blamed for the death and misfortune that had befallen their neighbors. Halfway across the world, in 1692, the town of Salem, Massachusetts, was seized by a similar panic. Over 200 people were accused and were hanged. These trials were not isolated incidents, but a reflection of the widespread panic and fear that had gripped society. And let's not forget the role of torture in this grim tale. Many of those accused were subjected to horrific physical and psychological torment until they confessed to their crimes. Imagine the pain, the terror, Faced with unbearable suffering, many admitted to anything their tormentors wanted to hear, leading to a spiraling cycle of accusations. In a world gripped by fear, a single accusation could lead to a spiral of destruction. The spark had been ignited, and the witch trials were about to unfold in all their horrifying glory, convicting thousands in their dreadful wake. The witch trials were not merely legal proceedings, they were public spectacles of terror. With a potent cocktail of fear, superstition, and authority, they unfolded like a grim theatre of the absurd. The process typically began with an accusation, often spurred by unexplained misfortunes. A cow's sudden illness, a failed crop, an unexpected death, all were enough to point fingers at the perceived witches among us. Once accused, the alleged witch was brought before a court, often a local magistrate or church official. The trial was a spectacle, a public display of authority's might against the supposed agents of chaos and evil. The courtroom was a stage where the accused was expected to perform their innocence. But with the scales already tipped against them, this was a near impossible task. The evidence, if it can be called that, was often nothing more than hearsay, rumors, and the alleged witch's inability to pass bizarre and inhumane tests. One such test involved throwing the accused into a body of water. It was believed that pure, innocent water would reject the witch, causing her to float. If she sank, she was innocent, but at the terrible cost of drowning. It was a classic case of damned if you do, damned if you don't. And then there were the confessions, often extracted under extreme torture. The human mind can only endure so much pain before it breaks, leading many to confess to the unthinkable, just to make the agony stop. Yet in this bleak landscape of fear and hysteria, there were voices of reason. Figures like Friedrich Spey, a German Jesuit priest who, after witnessing the horrors of the witch trials, wrote a treatise condemning the process as unjust and illogical. Or the English jurist, Sir Matthew Hale, who, despite presiding over some witch trials, later expressed doubts about the validity of spectral evidence. While some dared to question, fear held the society in its icy grip, leading to thousands of tragic deaths. The witch trials were a testament to the destructive power of fear when it's allowed to rule unchecked. As the flames of the witch trials finally died down, society was left with a haunting legacy. In the wake of the witch hunts, a gradual shift in societal attitudes began to unfold. Enlightenment ideals of reason, individual rights, and skepticism started to permeate society, challenging the superstitions and fear that had once held sway. This marked the beginning of the end for the witch trials. Legal reforms were introduced, emphasizing evidence-based trials and the presumption of innocence. The witch hunts became a thing of the past, replaced by a justice system striving for fairness and rationality. Yet the impact of the witch trials continues to be felt in the modern world, shaping our legal practices and societal beliefs. They underscore the importance of due process, the necessity of evidence, and the danger of allowing fear and hysteria to override reason. The trials also left an indelible mark on popular culture, with the image of the witch evolving from a feared figure of malevolence to a symbol of feminine power and resistance. However, remnants of the old superstitions and fears still linger today. In some corners of the world, accusations of witchcraft persist, reflecting the enduring power of fear and superstition. These instances remind us that while we've come a long way, we must remain vigilant against the dark corners of the human psyche that can give rise to such horrors. The echoes of the witch trials still resonate in our world today. We've journeyed through a time when fear and superstition cast dark shadows over reason, and the human psyche was laid bare in its most vulnerable state. We've seen how societal pressures and anxieties can create a breeding ground for destructive actions, and how unchecked fear can spiral into mass hysteria. Our exploration of the witch trials has shown us the human capacity for both destruction and growth. From the depths of fear and superstition emerged voices of reason, questioning the fairness and logic of these trials. This, in turn, led to crucial legal reforms and changing attitudes that brought an end to this dark chapter. As we remember the witch trials, we're reminded of the power of fear and the importance of compassion, critical thinking, and justice in overcoming it. Thank you for joining us on this enlightening journey through history. We hope you've enjoyed it as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you. If you did, please do hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into history's most fascinating and impactful moments. And don't forget to share this video with your friends and family, so they too can learn from the lessons of the past and apply it to the present. Until next time, goodbye and thank you for watching.